Hi everyone. So the article title that I'm going to review is Autism in the Classroom. The author is Caroline Mitchell. So the article overview. Early childhood education is crucial in building the foundation of academic success and the social skills that are necessary for fulfilling life. Students, the author states, feels that they are not included in the American education system to the degree that they should be. While life skills can be challenging to learn for many elementary age students, students on the autism spectrum have additional difficulty with these developments. ASD is a developmental disability that can cause significant social, communication, and behavioral challenges. While each person with ASD is affected differently, they share many of the same difficulties, such as challenges with communication, expressing feelings, and overstimulation. So, the author's perspective. Autism spectrum disorders students should have the opportunity to learn in general education classrooms. Inclusive learning leads to significant improvements in both academic and social skills for students and encourages values of diversity, equity, and inclusion that are the cornerstones of civic education. And I do think that this is extremely important because as a volunteer, I've been in classrooms, second grade, third grade, fifth grade, where, we do have children that are autistic. We do have children that have sensory disorders where they do have to wear headphones, certain areas like the cafeteria, which is extremely loud, certain centers, could, have caused them to be stressed out. And I think it's important to note that their peers that are non-disabled, maybe don't have ASD, they're actually looking out for them as well. um, and I think it's important as an adult and as someone who works in education to know that sometimes the child is not always going to go to you. Sometimes the first responder is their own peer. As soon as a child may hear a loud noise or something that like triggers them, they oftentimes won't go to that para that's sitting over there that they can walk to, or the teacher. They may feel comfortable going to another peer, and say, hey, that scared me. Or they may say, hey, I don't like that, stop it. And I think even if it's the child saying, hey, I don't like that, stop it, to another peer, that's still communication, and they're trying to help another person understand that they don't like that noise. That noise bothers them, and then that noise makes them feel bad. So, the main challenges for students with ASD are social understanding and behavior problems in understanding the abstract language, and from visual support in learning new material, interfering behaviors, and relatively rigid adherence to a narrow set of routines and behaviors. And this is very important for children that do have autism. Routines and expectations are very important. It's a must, for the instructor in the classroom, because when that child walks into the classroom, they should already know their expectations, and they should already know the routine, and they should also know that, hey, if something does happen to the routine, we don't need to panic. We don't need to cry. We don't need to get upset, because sometimes these things happen, and you can redirect the child and say, hey, we may not have been able to go to art today, but maybe we can make our own art in the classroom. As a educator, whether you're a professional or an instructor, you do have to improvise. So I think it's extremely important how you handle that behavior from the ASD student. reactions. While the emotional aspect of inclusion is important for the child's development, social improvements within the friendships formed between ASD students and peer buddies who are general education students have made positive impacts. When ASD students are included in the classroom, they sense an increased feelings of belonging and in time can develop even stronger relationship. It is crucial to keep in mind that short-term benefits of inclusive learning, the extension of this inclusivity will most likely influence ASD students far beyond their educational careers. And I think this is extremely important because when a child who does have ASD, they may, they feel the same way that we do. Sometimes, a child, doesn't like the teacher and doesn't like the adults, and they feel more comfortable going to a friend of theirs or another peer and saying, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? Well, ASD students, are the same way. They may not be verbal. They may have, speech problems. They may be getting, speech therapy. They may have other different services, but they are still a child. So they may have a preference. They may talk to another student sitting at their desk before they even talk to you. And, that's, like I said, that's an important fact to remember. And it's also, a very good thing to happen because that allows the child to gain independence. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to ask someone that should be doing the same work as me. Maybe they know. So I think having the child be able to connect with their peers one-on-one will help them also gain an independence and also be an advocate for themselves. So the buddy system also led to an increased display of happiness. When analyzing the effects of mixed peer buddy groups, researchers found that among positive social interaction behaviors, adolescents were engaged more frequently in smiling, looking at, and combining smile and eye contact. Moreover, adolescents with ASD demonstrated their affection for classmates either verbally or non-verbally. And I think, to touch on that topic, especially when you are interacting with a child who is, non-verbal, they don't speak, physical touch is extremely important. Um, as a volunteer in the classroom, I've had to, help other children understand that when, that child who, maybe they can't talk, when they go to grab your hand or maybe they may try to grab another student's shirt, you don't have to be scared. You don't have to say, hey, stop that, because maybe they're just trying to get your attention, or maybe they like you and they want you to be with them. They want you to play with them. And I think it's important for children, especially with ASD and who are nonverbal, to, be able to communicate in their way. They may not always have, an aid that's going to be there. So if they can communicate with their peer and they can get their peers' attention, especially if there's something wrong or something that they don't like, I think, that's a win. I think it's a skill for them to have. So implications to practice. The effect inclusive classrooms have on social and academic outcomes poses a concern to many teachers and parents who suspect that students with ASD would negatively affect the general education classroom environment. Now, I have heard this before, especially when you're dealing with studies and outcomes of, whether to have an ASD student in a general education classroom or whether to have a ASD student in an autism ASD classroom. At the end of the day, it is up to the parents. The parents have the final say in the classroom that they want their child to be in. And I think that's number one, that's important. You can help the child, the parents, hone in on what may fit for their child, but the parents have the final say. Some argue that the extra support needed to educate children with disabilities takes away teacher attention and decreases learning for typical students. Now, I have seen where sometimes the teacher can get overwhelmed because they did not realize that they were spending so much time with a student that has ASD that they were not able to get to the other kids. And sometimes that is going to happen, but I think being able to use all of the resources allocated to you is extremely important. If that child can have a para, well, I would say bring the para in so that the teacher can be able to get to all the students in the classroom, not just them. Typical children may have difficulty adjusting to the inclusive classrooms, especially the atypical behaviors of ASD students. While these concerns indicate a need for additional research, existing studies showed that the inclusion of students with autism does not negatively impact peers in regular classrooms. And I think that's very important because I think one of the biggest reasons that helps is that you're able to help another student understand, how a child with ASD communicates. Having the teacher go over, sometimes I cry even when, I'm not feeling good. Sometimes I smile and I don't get what you mean when, you tell me to do this. And I think having, peers, having their friends understand, hey, look, he's crying, he didn't like what you did, that helps the child have an advocate in their corner, not just the adults. And I think just by having that, I've seen in the classroom that they not only, have better self-esteem about themselves, but they gain confidence because now they're interacting with their peers. So now it's a completely different ball game. Now their peer may say something to them and maybe they can't, verbalize, but they know that their friend said something to them while they were playing. And I think, that's something that a lot of people, take for granted, but that small interaction right there can make the child with ASD feel more comfortable and forget that he's having to go to the adults for, various things, or, he's having to even go to the nurse's office at a certain time. So I think, these things are extremely important for educators to understand that with time, especially with time, the child will understand that they are classmates. That is their peer. Sometimes when a child does have a disability, they can feel like an outsider. They may not want to play with the other kids. They may rather observe and watch, which is what I've seen in the classroom. So this is my references. And I really think it's, like I said, it's very important for the educator to understand the buddy system. And it's not just, about one child helping another child. Both children are learning from each other. One child is learning that, hey, it's okay to trust. You may not have an adult in your corner. You may not have, a para there that's going to be standing around that's going to help you. You may need to, tug your peer's shirt if you are not able to be verbal. You may need to get their attention to tell them, hey, I need help. And their peer that's not disabled can also be that help. So I think that's extremely important. Thank you.